Learn English through story. The Lantern Keeper. In a quaint village nestled deep within the mountains, where time seemed to flow slower and the air was always crisp, there lived a man named Thomas. Thomas was the village's lantern keeper, a role passed down through generations in his family. His job was simple yet essential. He ensured that every lantern in the village was lit each evening and kept burning through the night. The lanterns guided travelers safely through the winding roads and provided comfort to the villagers during the long, dark hours. Thomas was diligent and meticulous, taking great pride in his work. He believed that every flicker of light he tended to was a symbol of hope, warmth, and safety. Over the years, Thomas had become somewhat of a recluse, devoting all his time to the lanterns. He rarely engaged with the other villagers, who saw him as a quiet, solitary figure, always present but never really part of the community. One evening, as Thomas made his rounds, a stranger arrived in the village. The man was tall and wore a long cloak, his face partially hidden by the shadows of the night. He approached Thomas with a curious glint in his eyes. "Good evening, Lantern Keeper," the stranger said. "I've heard tales of your dedication and the light you bring to this village. But tell me, what do you know of the darkness?" Thomas, caught off guard by the question, paused for a moment. "The darkness is simply the absence of light," he replied. "It is my duty to ensure it does not prevail." The stranger nodded thoughtfully. "And yet, without darkness, how would you know the value of light? How would the villagers appreciate the warmth of their homes if not for the cold that surrounds them?" Thomas frowned, uncomfortable with the direction of the conversation. "Light is always more powerful than darkness," he insisted. "It chases away fear and brings clarity. My lanterns protect the village." The stranger smiled, though there was a hint of sadness in his expression. "Perhaps," he said, "but consider this, Lantern Keeper, if you focus too much on maintaining the light, you might forget to notice the darkness within yourself." With that, the stranger turned and walked away, disappearing into the night. Thomas stood there for a moment, shaken by the encounter. The stranger's words echoed in his mind as he finished lighting the last of the lanterns. That night, for the first time in many years, Thomas found it difficult to sleep. He lay awake, thinking about the darkness the stranger had spoken of, and the idea that perhaps, in his relentless pursuit of light, he had been avoiding something within himself. Days turned into weeks, and Thomas continued with his duties, but the stranger's words never left him. He began to notice how isolated he had become, how his life revolved solely around the lanterns. The villagers respected him, but he had no close relationships, no one to share his thoughts or dreams with. He had devoted himself entirely to his work, but at what cost? One particularly cold and stormy night, as Thomas made his rounds, he encountered a young boy sitting alone on a bench, crying softly. The boy was shivering, lost, and clearly in distress. Thomas approached him, holding his lantern high. "Are you all right, child?" Thomas asked gently. The boy looked up, his eyes red from tears. "I got separated from my family," he sobbed. "I can't find my way home." Thomas's heart ached for the boy. He realized that while he had been so focused on keeping the lanterns lit, he had overlooked the importance of connecting with those around him. He had been providing light, but not warmth, guidance, but not comfort. Without hesitation, Thomas took the boy's hand. "Come with me," he said. "I'll help you find your way home." As they walked through the village, Thomas spoke softly to the boy, reassuring him that everything would be alright. They passed by the lanterns, their warm glow reflecting off the wet cobblestones, casting long shadows behind them. For the first time, Thomas felt a deep sense of purpose beyond his duty. He realized that while the light of the lanterns was important, it was the human connection, the kindness and empathy, that truly mattered. When they finally found the boy's home, his family was overjoyed to see him safe. The boy's mother hugged Thomas tightly, tears of gratitude in her eyes. "Thank you," she whispered. "You've brought more than just light to us tonight." As Thomas walked back through the village, the wind howling around him, he felt a warmth in his chest that had nothing to do with the lanterns. The stranger's words came back to him, and he understood them now. It wasn't enough to simply keep the darkness at bay. He needed to embrace the parts of himself he had ignored, to allow others into his life, and to be more than just a lantern keeper. From that night on, Thomas changed. He still lit the lanterns every evening, but he also made an effort to connect with the villagers. He attended gatherings, shared meals, and listened to their stories. He found that by allowing others into his life, the light he tended to became brighter, not just in the lanterns, but in his own heart. The village noticed the change in Thomas, and soon he was no longer seen as just the solitary lantern keeper, but as a beloved member of the community, a man who not only kept the darkness away but also brought warmth and kindness to all those around him. In the end, Thomas learned that while it was important to light the way for others, it was equally important to allow them to light his path as well. I hope you enjoyed the story. If you enjoyed, then please like and share this video, and don't forget to subscribe our YouTube channel. Thank you for watching.